Christos voskres. Christ is risen. Christos anesti. So continuing this theme of joy that we heard 3 times already. So how, if I wanted to be clever, I could say, okay, let's cultivate joy. How are we going to fertilize the ground of joy? There's maybe 4 things briefly we can do that we learned from today's epistle and gospel, and also harkening back to the Sunday Vespers gospel. 1 is to read the scriptures. So you have to read the Old Testament and the New Testament. Mig, si, ne može, ale musiš čitati Bibliju. The disciples said, did not our hearts burn? Like their hearts were on fire because Jesus was reading the Bible. Basically, that's what he was doing while he was walking with those men. He is explaining to them everything in the Bible, and it was filling them with joy. So that's something we have to do too. We have to read the scriptures. Second, we have to come to Holy Communion. We have to come to the Eucharist. Because it's not until Jesus breaks bread with them that they recognize him. That's why, by the way, we read the Bible first in church, and then we break the bread. So we have to read the scriptures. We have to come to Holy Communion. The third is from the epistle and from Thomas Elliot. We have to be open to the Holy Spirit. So we're not, for 50 days, we're not going to say that prayer, Heavenly King. But then we're going to get back to saying it. It's not that the Holy Spirit's not with us this time. If you know that prayer, we say, Heavenly King, Advocate. And that word advocate, utishepelio, or in Greek, parakletos, can mean all sorts of things, and there's lots of debate among translators about whether it should be comforter, which would be good, or consoler, which would be okay too, or advocate, or some people say, let's just say parakletos, that way we get around it, we don't have to translate it. One of the advantages of advocate, it sounds like a lawyer, right? You're sort of like, well, wait a minute, I don't want God to be a lawyer, except you do want to be God to be a lawyer if he's on your side. The Holy Spirit is with the apostles, and he's with us saying, God is on your side. It says, whenever you feel, like at some point, you older guys at least, you'll feel like you're in a courtroom. You'll feel like I don't like my life, and I feel shame. Maybe, so I'll tell you one experience I had with this. It was Christmas Eve, and I was vacuuming, and I was angry vacuuming, because other people weren't vacuuming. And there was a courtroom in my head of really anger and justification. I was saying, I work so hard, and other people don't work hard, and here I am working, and other people are still asleep, and I was listening to a podcast, actually a homily from a famous preacher, and it dawned on me, I'm justifying myself. What I need is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit who's going to say to me, Cyril, none of that matters because Jesus died and rose from the dead, and now you're okay with me. Like if you're in the courtroom with God, God is not, well, he is the judge, but God is also the defense lawyer who's standing on your side and saying, I'm with you. I'm going to find a way to have you declared not guilty. So you can leave this courtroom with your head held high. So that's the third thing. We have to be open to the Holy Spirit and open to what he was doing with the apostles, what he does on what Jesus breathes on the disciples in John 21, which we heard on Sunday evening. So let Jesus breathe the Holy Spirit on you. And the last thing you need to do has to do with all for the first three. Read the scriptures, come to communion, be open to the Holy Spirit. It's to be with the church. So Luke and Cleopas are walking, and they're not walking alone. They're walking together. They're probably depressed, right? They're filled with fear because they had spent 3 years with Jesus and now he's dead. And they don't know what to believe about, okay, women came. Well, I don't know. They lived in a culture where they would have dismissed that. That's why they didn't believe it, because they lived in a culture where actually a woman couldn't witness in court. Which, by the way, is one of the amazing things about the Gospels, that all of them agree that the first people who saw the resurrection were women, which no one in that culture would have made up a lie like that. It would be like, you know how I know that something is true? Because Edmund told me. You're like, well, okay, great. Your 2-year-old son said he saw a dinosaur walking down the street. You know, are you going to believe him? No. But that's how, it's a weird sign, actually, that everybody was convinced that what the women said was true, and they were so convinced that they didn't want to pretend it wasn't women. Getting off track here, sort of. This is supposed to be a short comment. Be with other Christians, like Luke and Cleopas were. So you're going to, at some point, the scriptures aren't going to make sense, the Eucharist is not going to make sense, and it's going to feel like the Holy Spirit is not with you. Be with other Christians at that time, which may be a long time. Thomas, we heard on Sunday evening, said, if I don't see it, I won't believe it. But where will he be 5 days from now? Somebody tell me. We're going to hear about Thomas. And where is he going to be? With the other apostles. He's going to be still with the other apostles, still not sure what he believes, but not giving up on the work of the Holy Spirit that he sees there with his brothers and his sisters. So, read the scriptures, go to communion, ask the Holy Spirit to reveal himself to you, and when in the midst of all of that, be with your fellow Christians. You're all doing that. It's Tuesday, right? Okay, so like I'm preaching to the choir. So maybe if you're watching online, be with your fellow Christians. And at some point it's going to be harder. It's easy now because mom and dad drove me to church or something. It's going to be harder at some point. That's when it's all the more important to be with your fellow Christians. Christ is risen.